but this is a great look for Trump. It is shallow aggression and macho and MAGA people, and then probably plus 25% on top of them are pissed off by riots that pose as protests, and the left burning up cities and burning up cop cars like they did during George Floyd. And the left is giving Trump what he needs in terms of the want of his distraction campaign.
In today's video, Scott Galloway absolutely destroys Chris Cuomo in a debate on the LA protest and the political climate on the Chris Cuomo podcast. While Chris Cuomo tries to downplay the former president's role in stoking division, Scott Galloway brings the heat with facts, stats, and his signature no-nonsense style. From Trump's performative leadership to the economic rut fueling unrest, this debate goes deep and gets heated. So let's dive in and watch how Scott Galloway shuts down Chris Cuomo on the Chris Cuomo podcast.
Yeah, so a lot there. So I would agree with you that Democrats, I would argue, our heart's in the right place. We go too far and we kind of we stick our chin out and invite an overreaction.
And you invite the wrong people to the party. You invite the wrong people to the party. That's the problem with these protests, is that these Guy Fawkes masks show up. The Antifa show up. The pro-Pal/pro-Hamas show up. People with their own country flags show up. And it winds up diluting a righteous and rightful pushback against what ICE is doing in a lot of communities, which I do think is worthy of scrutiny. And they blow it, in my opinion.
But I always go back to, I'm one of these old men now. I'll watch anything starring Hitler. I stay up all night watching documentaries on World War II. And I have said, and I've gotten a lot of pushback that I'm being hysterical, is that I think America has a lot of similarities with 30s Germany right now. And if you look at early Nazi propaganda, it was very much emphasized that the real problems were internal, that it was saboteurs, communists, Jews, immigrants who were the problem. And when we have real, I think, issues with Russian troops and a murderous autocrat invading Europe, China stealing IP, I think some of Trump's instincts were right around an asymmetric trade relationship, Iran spinning up its nuclear capabilities. I think we have real issues overseas, but instead of dealing with those hard problems or distracting from this tax bill, which I just see as the biggest transfer of wealth from rich to poor, young to old, from the future to the past, it seems like he's taken, and you don't have to be Hitler to take notes from the playbook of the 30s that were very successful, in that he's blaming immigrants, protesters, journalists, academics. It mirrors sort of the same playbook, and it takes me to a very dark place. And I worry that, everyone thinks of America as just being so big and bold that America ends with a civil war and it goes out with a bang. I think America could very easily kind of go out of business with a whimper, and it goes something like this. And that is, and I think this is a step towards it, or a potential piece on the chessboard. And that is, Governor Newsom says, look, fuck it. I'm sick of sending $80 billion for you to deploy national troops against peaceful protests. We're no longer they're a net creditor to the U.S. government. They send $80 billion more than they take. And Texas takes $70 billion more than it sends. And Governor Newsom says, we're sick of this. And then, or Texas, if, say, Governor Newsom or a Mayor Pete are elected in the president in 2028, say we aren't certifying the election. We don't sign up for this president. And then slowly but surely you have California, which is the fourth largest economy in the world, tech-based economy, does a lot of trade with Asia. The South, Texas leads an oil-based economy that does a lot of trade with the Middle East and Latin America. The East Coast becomes very Europe-centric, a lot of trade, a lot of financial services, a lot of tech. Midwest becomes a manufacturing economy. Its strongest trading partners become Mexico and Canada, and then they develop their own currencies. They do what DeSantis did in 2022, weaponize or deputize civilians, and we essentially become the European Union.
Scott Galloway laid out a clear, uncomfortable truth that Trump's political strategy mirrors the same fear-mongering playbooks we've seen throughout history, scapegoating immigrants, vilifying journalists, stoking cultural resentment to distract from real crises like economic inequality, global threats, and a tax policy that siphons wealth upward. And he's not wrong. Trump's 2017 tax law disproportionately benefited the wealthy, adding trillions to the national debt, while wages stagnated for most Americans. Scott Galloway's comparison to 1930s Germany wasn't hyperbole. It was a serious call-out of where unchecked political manipulation can lead, especially when democracy is weakened by division. And he's right about how this isn't about protests in LA or some fringe leftist in Guy Fawkes masks. It's about a systemic failure to prioritize economic justice and preserve democratic norms. So while Chris Cuomo raises concerns about optics, Galloway's focused on the bigger picture, and it's one worth listening to. America doesn't need more both-sidism, it needs truth-tellers willing to name the threats, even when they come dressed in red, white, and blue.
And that is kind of a series of member states. And America kind of breaks apart with sort of hushed tones, without like a lot of sirens, but sort of just, very kind of background, white noise. So I look at this stuff, I look at 30s Germany, and I look at how America ends, and I find this stuff really, really frightening. I think the winner here is probably Governor Newsom, because what I have seen of him is he's been, I think, fairly forceful yet dignified. And but I don't, I just hope the temperature gets taken down. Because when I talk to my friends, I grew up in LA. When I talk to my friends, they're like, and maybe it's because they're privileged and they live in good neighborhoods. Like, I don't see any real problem here. The protests I've seen have been pretty peaceful.
Well, look, there's plenty of bad shit going on. It's always like that. And it is what you want to see. If you want to see protests, you see protests. You want to see people who are harming people and property and going after cop cars and everything else, that's there too. Is it by percentage? It doesn't matter. Once there's any of it, you can see whatever you want to see. So are they protests? Yes. Are they largely protests? Yes. Are they only protests? No. Does Newsom win? Depends on the lens. His party, what the people in the streets want, he is not their guy. And for him, this could go two ways. One, his state's on fire again, Scott, and he doesn't seem to be in control of it. And that is fair. He doesn't seem to be in control. Him versus Homan is a decent look for him. We'll see how he handles it. I think Newsom does way too much lefty media. He's got to expose himself to less safe harbors. Can't just be talking to every, little bookish MS, correspondent they send out there. But his party isn't where he is. That's why he's been trying to distance himself from the party. I get it. My review of it is, on a macro level that you look at it, I see why you see what you see, although it's interesting because the founding fathers, many of them wanted exactly what you're describing. I mean, even Jefferson, a lot of them wanted this loose association of member states.
13 states.
I think federalism has a lot of pluses for us. But let's put that to the side.
While Chris Cuomo hovered in his usual centrist space, acknowledging the unrest but worrying about optics and party dynamics, Scott Galloway zoomed out. He made a powerful case about how America is heading toward a slow, quiet unraveling, not a dramatic collapse with sirens and tanks, but a gradual, almost invisible disintegration, driven by polarization, inequality, and political cowardice. And when he compared this moment to 1930s Germany, it wasn't clickbait. It was a serious reminder that fascism rarely arrives with fanfare. It creeps in while people are distracted or disillusioned. Trump's tactics, demonizing immigrants, attacking journalists, and manufacturing culture wars mirrors that historical blueprint. Scott Galloway's concern wasn't just theoretical, it was rooted in real precedent. And when Scott Galloway pointed out that the average LA protest has been peaceful, especially in wealthier areas, that matters.
America is unique in one way that really matters right now versus the EU, versus the Middle East, South America, pretty much any other conglomerate you can look at. We make up our own problems here. Nobody else does it to the degree that we do. Everybody else that's dealing with real shit, even Russia, okay? They have real problems that are a threat to them. We have made ours up. Our culture wars, what's going on in Los Angeles, this is completely contrived, Scott. We don't have a murderous horde of illegal entrants in this country right now that are creating tension for our own safety. Trans sports, reproductive rights, the legitimacy of our elections. These are all manufactured things. Lake and Riley. You should see how MAGA goes crazy when I say the following thing, and I'll do it again because I love dumb and crazy. It's my favorite combination when I'm sparring. Someone who's really angry and I know hasn't studied what we're about to do, this is going to be great because it's all emotion and no technique, and I'm going to take them right down. Lake and Riley mattered. Her family's pain matters. But if you care about who's killing Lake and Riley's in this country, you'll never arrive at a legal entrance. And they say one is too many. And I'm so mad at you for not seeing that one is too many. That is not a standard that we apply anywhere. And they'll grandstand and say, but it matters. They shouldn't be here. It's always been that way. We've always had people in this country who didn't come in legally. Should you limit it? Of course. But the idea that that's the boogeyman to focus on is propaganda. But we make it up, Scott. That's what makes us different. We make it up here.
Yeah, we're definitely, if this is a horror film, the call's coming from inside of the house. We're energy independent, we're food independent, we have unparalleled natural resources. We're the largest oil producer in the world and the largest producer of chips for AI. So we cover the whole stack, from a blessing, an unearned blessing of commodities, to being able to create, the best IP in the world through our universities that result in exports that get 95 points of gross margin. Our stock market has been absolutely unparalleled. We used to be 10% of the world's GDP. Now we're, a quarter of it. Demographically, we're actually look pretty good versus other Western nations. Friendly Canada to the north, harmless Mexico to the south. Our problems are of our own, absolutely of our own manufacturing.
Chris Cuomo opens with a strong observation. Unlike many parts of the world facing real existential threats, war, famine, authoritarian collapse, America is unique in that we invent our own crisis. From culture wars over drag shows to panic about migrant caravans, most of the noise is a distraction, not danger. But it's Scott Galloway who drills deeper, pointing out that the US is still, by every global metric, absurdly well positioned. We're energy and food independent. We lead the world in tech and higher education. We have no serious threats on our borders. If anything, we're drowning in advantage, and yet we're self-destructing. And the LA protests? Scott's take is that yes, some progressive movements overreach or get hijacked by fringe actors. But the deeper issue is that the right exploits every spark of unrest to fan flames of division. The real threat isn't protests, it's political arsonists using fear to gut democracy. Scott Galloway sums it up best. The call is coming from inside the house. America isn't being brought down by enemies abroad, it's being sabotaged by bad faith actors at home, exploiting division for personal gain. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.